Next is our district attorney candidates, and we'll start with Richard Campbell.
My name is Richard Campbell, and I'm here with my wife Amy this evening, and I am running for district attorney. I want you to know something about me. I moved to Hartwell in 1983, and I rented a place over on the lake from Mr. and Mrs. Torrance. And as I was meeting some folks this evening, I met Mr. Torrance's son, and it was good to see you. In 1984, my first son was born here in Hart County. And I was in the same Lamaze class with Joe and Kay Adams and Coach Marsh, who is now, he was the Hart County coach then, now he's the Franklin County basketball coach. I went off to law school in 1984 at Mercer Law School, and in 1986, during the summer, I came back and, well, I have to tell you this, I was the law clerk for Walter Gordon. But I had a great time that summer. It was really hot and dry that summer in 1986. But I learned a lot. I learned how to check titles. And Betty Isbell, she was the clerk of court, Frankie, and she would, go in there and check titles. And then Walter would cut me loose, and I would go watch Judge Grant and Judge Bryant preside, and I would, watch a lot of trials and cases, and I learned a lot. I finished law school in 1987, and Judge Bryant swore me in the Hart County Superior Court. 1987 and 1988, I was a clerk on the Supreme Court of Georgia for Justice George T. Smith. Some of y'all may remember him. And in 1989, I moved to Elberton and began the private practice of law. From 2000 to 2012, I was the judge of the State Court of Elbert County. Now, I want you to know I'm running for district attorney for 3 reasons. The first reason is fiscal responsibility. And I've said a lot about that, but the main thing I want you to understand about fiscal responsibility, and you've heard a lot from these fellows about fiscal responsibility, is that the district attorney's office needs to focus its energy, resources, both financial and human resources, on the prosecution of felony cases in Superior Court. The second thing I want to emphasize is the separation of powers. And let me explain what I'm talking about. In Elbert County, Sheriff Andrews does not use the man's unit or the Northeast Georgia Drug Task Force. That is his decision as the sheriff. Now, the sheriff, Melvin Andrews, and many of y'all know him, he's not going to come up to me and say, "No, Richard, I want you to explain the nuances of Crawford versus Washington. It's a Supreme Court case." Well, he's not going to do that. And just like he's not going to try to explain the law to me, I'm not going to go and tell him how to do drug interdiction. Can you imagine me going into Melvin Andrews' office and saying, "Melvin, I think you need to do it this way"? Well, I'd be out the door. The the district attorney is charged with prosecuting cases in Superior Court. The juvenile court is a division of the Superior Court. The juvenile court is supervised and administered by the Department of Juvenile Justice, a state agency. The district attorney's office is a state agency. On October the 9th, 2014, the district attorney's office stopped prosecuting cases in the juvenile court. The letter that terminated the relationship stated there wasn't enough time, they didn't have enough staff, and enough money to cover that court. But in the letter where they terminated the relationship, the district attorney stated, "Should the governing authority for the county decide to provide funding for at least one county-paid ADA, I will be happy to reconsider my position." A county-paid ADA is not more important than the children and young people that are dealt with in juvenile court. Now finally, I want to emphasize justice. And I've said this, justice is never vindictive, but it is always exact. You have to have a lot of life experience to know how to give and administer exact justice. And let me give you an example. 75% of all people, or approximately 75% of all people that get a DUI never get another one. It's typically so traumatic that, and with the fines and the time in jail, that they never do it again. The problem is the 25% that come back and back and back. The key is to give the exact justice that copes with and deals with a problem like that. And that is, for example, DUI court, which is based on the model of drug court. Confinement alone does not work in drug court. It takes a lot of other treatments and administration and programs to accomplish that. And so I assure you, if I'm elected as your district attorney, justice will be exact, never vindictive, and it will be firm and fair. Vote for me, Richard Campbell, for district attorney.
Next up is Parks White.
Good evening. My name's Parks White. I don't want to talk about myself too much, but I'll just give you a little background on my bio. I finished law school in 2003, came back here to Hart County, studied for the bar. Where my father lives out on this property that's been in our family for over 200 years. My great-grandfather was Mr. Hart Parks. Many of you probably remember him. He was a county registrar from 1959 to 1980. My great-uncle was Pete Herndon, for whom Herndon Stadium is named. I finished law school in 2003, and I went to work in Augusta working for Danny Craig, and I'm so glad I got to work in that DA's office. Because in that time, Danny let me try, I prosecuted 700 felonies, tried 46 jury trials, and tried more cases in the time I was there than any other ADA in the office. In 2007, I joined the Navy. I defended sailors and Marines and Coast Guardsmen as a JAG for 4 years. And you want to talk about life experience? I sailed around South America as an embarked staff judge advocate, and I went to Iraq, where I worked in the prosecution of a group called ISIS with special operators. So that's a little more life experience, I'd say, than maybe just being a lawyer in Elberton for your entire life. I don't like lawyers, folks. I mean, I really don't. I'm sorry to say that. That sounds like a terrible thing to say, but who likes lawyers? Nobody, really, right? So I came off active duty in 2011, basically because there was too much, there wasn't enough work in the federal government. Honestly, I can't imagine being in Congress and trying to change anything that goes on up there, because it just seems like nothing ever changes, doesn't it? But you can, there's something you can do as a lawyer that can have an effect on your community. And the thing you can do is be a prosecutor. Because prosecution is the one thing you can do as a lawyer that can actually change your community profoundly. It doesn't pay a lot. The hours are miserable. But people like my staff, like Jeffrey Fogus, who was named Chief Assistant of the Year in 2014 for the state of Georgia, people like my staff who get in and fight every single day for you, and dog justice endlessly, can change the world, can change your world. And we have changed your community. This community was falling apart 4 years ago. Crime was through the roof. Burglaries are down by over 70%. Overall, all crime is down by 38%. And we've done it with so little money. 0.2 of 1 cent of your local dollar of money collected from your local property taxes go towards my office. 3 times as much of local money goes to the attorneys that defend the criminals. And I'm not faulting that, they need that. The public defenders are very, very hardworking. In fact, the circuit public defender is a close friend of mine. Now, Mr. Campbell, I don't want to get on the defensive here, but I'll tell you some things he's never done. He's never prosecuted a murder. He's never put a child molester in prison. He's never put a burglar in prison. He's never put a thief in prison. He's never put a rapist in prison. And he wants the chance to try it out, to just give it a go, see if he can be the district attorney. Well, you want to talk about physical responsibility? Let's talk about physical responsibility. Mr. Campbell was responsible as the state court judge in Elbert County for 12 years. In 2009, at the height of the economic downturn, Mr. Campbell, who worked 32 days a year as the state court judge, which is all required, insisted upon a pay increase for himself. So $39,000 a year for 32 days worth of work, and he wanted it to go up to 46. You scale that out to a full year, that's $367,000, or would be equivalent. I make less than the average first-year associate in an Atlanta law firm. This man wants my job. Why do you think that is? You think it's because he's doing so well in his law practice? We conduct training sessions with law enforcement because their work product comes to us. We want to represent their work better in court every day. We don't associate with many attorneys. We don't hang around the bar association. We associate with cops because we like them. We know that they're out there dogging justice every day. They're trying their best to keep this community from falling apart, because so much more dangerous than foreign terrorists, so much more dangerous than domestic terrorists, are the selfish, violent, lawless individuals within your community who want to tear your community up. And we stand on that wall every day, and we push and we push and we push to fight and stamp down those who would harm you, harm your children, break into your homes, steal your things. We have 400 cases per ADA. We have 6 assistant district attorneys to represent 5 counties. Athens has 22 full-time prosecutors. They sent 191 people to prison last year. We sent 273. Yes, we are hard, we are mean, and we are angry. Do you want a prosecutor who's going to be weak and soft on crime? Or do you want someone who's going to get in every day and do their best to crush the other side and grind them under our heel? Prosecution is not vindictive, but it is retributive. We exert a monopoly on revenge. People cannot take it individually, so they need someone to do it. Who do you want to do it? A warrior for justice, or this man? I'd ask for your vote for 4 more years so I can continue to crush crime. Thank you.